Hi. Hey. It's me, Nisi. I'm back with another video. We It's been a minute since we've discussed the science of sacred secretion or the sacred secretion, and I wanted to dive right in because if you remember for the chapters that we read before, I'm reading from Kelly Marie Kerr's book, The Sacred Secretion, and also The Science of Sacred Secretion, called Anatomy of a Man, Manly P. Hall, and The God Man, the Word Made Flesh, right? So I'm reading from these books, and where we stopped off as was process 6 on the heart and the baptism. Prior to that, we read process 1, which is the timing, the quality of the monthly influx when the moon enters into your zodiac sign. We read that. The process number 2, the light, which is the astral influx, is received by the colostrum and splits the pituitary and the pineal glands. We read that. Process 3, what are the two potencies formed by the pituitary and the pineal gland? Okay, just going a little excerpt here. 4, we read the pineal and the pituitary streams merge into the spleen to produce the seed. Okay, and then we read 5, the seed is either wasted or preserved and raised. And so we read that the last time, and so I want to read part 6, which is the heart and the baptism. Now, what I want to quickly cover over is I want to read this part just to kind of bring it in. It says, wait a minute. This is the part I want to read to kick it off. Okay. Humans who are familiar with DMT use also describe extremely bright colors, geometric patterns, like those commonly associated with the Maya and the Aztec cultures, and a sense of timelessness. It is due to the fact that DMT is branded as our portal molecule to other dimensions that some users also believe that the chemical allows them to contact other entities or aliens from different dimensions. It has also been speculated that it is a large internal DMT release from the brain that is responsible for the abduction stories. After returning from a DMT trip, most people, even previous skeptics, claim to no longer feel afraid as they know that there is more than this physical life. We are only here to learn lessons. And I totally agree with that 110%. And it says, from this, one could assume that the trip, the DMT trip, right, air quotes, experience whilst on DMT is universal, meaning that the sights and the feelings are often very familiar. It is this similarity alongside strong belief in the validity of the experience being real and the clear organization of the reconstructed reality, which has led to DMT's popularity and use by shamans all over the world as an access portal to other dimensions. Okay, the same shamans even claim that it is our severed connection with spirit that is causing the vast Western sickness, such as cancer and depression. And I gotta agree with that. According to Flexstar, Morrill, and Wolfson, DMT visions are universal due to the physics of the entanglement. Entanglement is the title given to the phenomenon that seeks to explain how atoms that have been previously connected in history remain connected non-locally for infinity. As such, some quantum mechanic theorists suggest that during these trips, we are actually seeing the cosmos we are deeply connected to on every level. They continue to explain how everything that evolves a transfer of energy leads to a change in space-time geometry. So our enhanced consciousness can literally change the world. This could support the theory of all the star families, right? That is increasingly in popularity, that we have extraterrestrial light beings as guides for us during the earthly experience. It says the soul cluster, which is the reconsideration of a millennia-old concept, and this is from Graham Hickok in 2010. They're taking an excerpt from this, and it says, this theory is further supported by the work of Einstein, who we know didn't learn it. I mean, he learned it from us here, the old world, Soteria. Okay, it says He who developed the geometrism of the structure of space-time and the mathematics of fractal theory, which is a never-ending pattern, both of these support a relationship between DMT visions, ancient symbols, and the construction of the physical universe. Geometric patterns are also referred to as sacred geometry and appear like ancient mandalas, as everything within the universe is a construction of energy, and this energy follows the natural rhythms and patterns of the planet in spiritual terms. These geometric shapes are information. This energy and information is simply in the form of a visual satisfying frequency that can be decoded by an activated pineal. Dr. Masaru Emoto's water experiments show an interesting view of this phenomenon. If you haven't checked out his videos, I highly recommend you do so. And I will tell you, my husband laughs at me, but this is what I do. When I open up a bottle of water, I speak into it. I speak love and encouragement into the water before I take it in my vessel, right? Because I feel like if you put that good vibration out into the water will receive it. Because Dr. Masaru Emoto proves that. It says the research demonstrates the effect of various frequencies on water as the liquid molecules from geometric patterns in response to the vibration. This is why we've been bombarded, I truly believe, because these entities or these evil, corrupt beings that are trying to eliminate humanity and keep us dumbed down and enslaved, they know these things and they use this against us, especially frequencies with music. The dirty electricity comes into our house. There's no healing in these buildings that we live in. I think about this house that I built 2 years ago, my retirement place. 2 years ago, I built this. And, it's a dead house. It's a dead thing. It is. It doesn't breathe energy into me, right? Thousands of years ago or hundreds of years ago, when the Tartarian Empire was in full effect, you can look all around the world, these old buildings, these ancient structures that were healing temples. That's why they destroyed all the bells. They tore all the bells down. They took all the bells down because those were used as energy healing the human body. And we lived hundreds of years longer than what we do now. And so they're using these things against us. So if your body is 90% water, 75% water, something like that, I forget. But, if we're constantly being bombarded by dirty electricity, signals that we can't see when we're driving in our cars, or, cell phone towers, that type of thing, that disrupts us. That we have been disrupted from the connection with Mother Earth. And that's the problem. That's why there's so much disease and sickness, is because we don't have the connection anymore with the earth. And we're not treating the earth as a treasure, right? We aren't. Because we're letting these corporations come in and pollute it. All of our rivers and streams and waters and oceans, they're all polluted. It's all toxic now in the known lands. And it's horrible, And we as a people need to stand up and stand together and fight back and tell the government enough is enough. This is a republic. This isn't a democracy. It's a republic, period. And that's where people don't understand. They don't read and they don't understand what this is and what's transpired. And that's the biggest thing for me, is that until you read and you understand and you study, then you really shouldn't talk about those things. You really shouldn't talk on those things. I believe the average person is so indoctrinated, they believe the programming. And they're like Agent Smith. They're going to hang on and they're going to die. And they're going to die fighting for a fake illusion that's not even true. They're going to come into this world and they're going to be programmed and they're going to stick to their code. They're not going to be able to erase the code. They're not going to be able to build new pathways in their brains to connect with the creator of all like we're supposed to. Okay? And this is why we're reading, because we've got to get back to understanding and then practicing the things that we understand, right? So it says, the research demonstrates the effect of various frequencies on the waters of liquid molecules from geometric patterns in response to the vibration. Some of these are symmetrical and coherent, others are not. It is It is the calming, harmonizing frequency of love tones and tends to form the geometric smooth patterns currently being discussed, which is further evidence for the relationship between the visuals, sounds, and emotion. Due to the fact that as a species, we are around 70% water based, okay? I said 90 and then I said 75. It's 70% water. And these experiments quickly demonstrate how frequencies alter our chemical and biological vibration. Yeah, there's a couple of people that have built these energy vibration machines that can heal you. And every time it's it's been put out there in studies and videos, what do? They always snatch up the technology and they suppress it, they put it on the shelf because they don't want us to learn how to heal ourselves. See, we've given them so much power and they've ran with it. Now it's time for us to take our power back. We are sentient beings. To these beings, they don't even see us as being human. They see us like 2/3. They see us as dead things, right? It's it's unbelievable. But when you start to understand and read and research, you understand what this is, right? So it says, it is my belief that these psychedelics and the abundant fruit of Mother Earth give us a brief flash of the interconnected web of life, essentially grooming us back to consciousness by using us as a satellite dish to Gaia. Dr. Rick Strassman, who famously dedicated his career to studying the effects of DMT, nicknamed the psychedelic the spirit molecule and beautifully described it as reality thermostat. His research led him to the conclusion that the body produces just the right amount of the molecule to keep us in this level of existence. I'm going to repeat that one more time for the people in the back row. He said, his research led him to the conclusion that the body produces just the right amount of molecule to keep us in this level of existence. Fortunately, thermostats can be adjusted. The sacred secretion is a way of preserving the molecule and working with the natural biological cycles of the body and the astrological rhythms of the stars to enhance the levels of DMT, thus raising our unique awareness and consciousness. Some people will call it, the reptilians call it centripetal, to become centripetal. Because they look at us as dead things because we can't shapeshift like them, right? Because they're on a different vibrational frequency than we are. We've been poisoned and dumbed down so much that we've lost the connection. The connection's been severed. Plus, they've been tinkering with our genetics. That too. But something that Chief said to me, or he said to us on a video a couple of times, he said like 4 times. And he asked me when we did a one-on-one video a couple weeks ago. He said, do you not know that we make oxygen? Us, the dark skins? And I'm like, I've heard of that, but I need to do more research on it. And I am. I'm going to do more research on it. So, Chief, if you see this video, we're going to have that conversation. Yeah, I'm going to do some research on that. But it says, fortunately, thermostats can be adjusted. The sacred secretion is a way of preserving the molecule and working with the natural biological cycles of the body and astrological rhythms of the stars to enhance the levels of DMT, thus raising our unique awareness and consciousness. As humans are the only known species of animal who can consciously alter their vibrational output. Removing themselves from survival mode, we were fortunate to be in a body that allows us to access the miracle compound and empower it internally. During the time of preservation of the sacred secretion, if you have a particular intention, such as healing a certain area of the body or opening the heart chakra even more, then can be effective to set this so that the body can structure the spirit molecule in a way that aligns with your needs. This can be done by either getting into a meditative state and actually telling your body what your intention is or writing it down in a journal to consolidate it. If you do not have a particular intention for the Christ oil, but instead simply want to have the experience of preserving it and seeing what happens, then simply allowing the body to be is also effective. Remember, though, that the human brain only perceives that which it believes it is important. This is an evolutionary survival mechanism. As children, we often are conditioned to see the physical world for what it really is. The conditioning strips us of our non-physical senses as our brain learns that it only needs to observe through the 5 basic senses to survive. And that's why the Rockefeller and the Rothschild indoctrination system started at age 4 to put you in kindergarten to pull or pre-K to pull you away from your loved ones, right? Because they want to get you in these indoctrination camps sooner rather than later, so you can become more socially productive, to become acclimated to society, learn how to be a good worker bee and not a thinker, right? They want to groom you right out of the womb is what they really want. See? And this is where we've allowed this system to overtake us, right? We, the indigenous ones, were connected to the earth, and we were calling down from the deep things that we should not have. And we've opened the gateway to something that should not even be in this realm. Just saying. Therefore, it is still good practice to meditate before the moon shifts into your star sign so that your body is aware that this practice is important, and to adapt energy output to preserve the cosmic seeding of Christ frequencies. By regularly returning to support the preservation of the sacred secretion, the neural structures within the brain we wire to support this process at your consciousness actions force the subconscious reactions to deem this important for your survival. Consequently, the thermostat kicks up a permanent notch. Thus, within each preservation, the spirit molecule holds the potential to get more powerful. Then, as you move along your ascension journey, where's my highlighter? I'm going to highlight this. Y'all see it. Ascension journey. This is what this is, you all. This is why we're here. We're here to learn lessons and to grow and to ascend. This is what this place is for, right? It says, then as you move along your ascension journey and your spiritual path, you may reach a point where being conscious of the process and setting intentions isn't necessary to do the physical body now, holding its own memory of how to preserve the chrism and to listen to the needs of the spirit, the light body, for its purpose. For these last few paragraphs, it can be seen that that DMT is powerful, multifaceted compound with an array of potentials. This explains why experiences during consumption of the external molecule are paralleled yet unique. As humans have similar conditionings and support from light beings, yet have their own unique journey to walk and karma to heal. And I understand, I was reading somewhere and I can't remember what book it was in. The more children you have, the more karma you create. So I had birthed 3 wonderful children, and I inherited 2 from a marriage. So yeah, that's my karma. So interesting. And so it says, this explains why the experiences during consumption of the external molecule are parallel yet unique. As humans have similar conditionings and support from light beings, yet have their own unique journeys to walk and karma to heal. As mentioned previously, it is the pineal gland that secretes the melatonin and DMT, substances within the sacred secretion that must be preserved through correct procedure, aka the natural lifestyle the human rhythms evolved to follow. The flow of DMT within the body can be raised, retuning the reality thermostat. Okay, let me highlight that. So we know the flow can be increased in our body based on our lifestyle and our practices. That means meditation, grounding, sunlight. Because you have to go outside and you have to charge the body up. You have to have sunlight. Very important for us to charge our energy bodies up. Interesting enough, I was reading though, if it's really windy, it can help decrease the body too. It can help decrease that charge. So you have to be careful. Chapter 2, explain how the rhythms of the body are adjusted in accordance with their larger frequencies that are pushing and pulling at the time, such as the sun. As the moon enters the sun sign that influences our biorhythms at birth, the vibratory energy of the pineal and the corresponding natural molecules increases. When relaxed, the individual experiences a more advanced perception of reality. This theory is not only supported by scientific research, but has been documented through the textbooks of religious history and within cultural rituals and exercises. So, this is a summary of what we just read. DMT is a psychedelic drug that is naturally produced in most living things. Okay, we know that. Melatonin is the key precursor to DMT, right? Sun, outside, sunlight, moonlight, melatonin secretes that helps to put us to sleep. It helps to relax us. Then when you sleep, the DMT flows. DMT is predominantly produced in the lungs within the oxidized environment. This is why they spray the skies, to keep us coughing up crap, to keep us from, they're disconnecting us from the internal processes within our bodies. That's basically what's happening with all this shit. The food, the frequencies, the spraying of the skies, the Wi-Fi in our homes, all of it is to keep us at a lower vibration, is to keep us fixated on something that's not reality. And it says the sacred secretion is the title given to the preservation of the DMT within the cerebral spinal fluid. Levels of the DMT molecule are responsible for our brain's awareness and ability to perceive other dimensions, right? And we know that by the time you turn 12 or 13, it calcifies based on the toothpaste and the water that we're drinking and the foods that we're taking in. Then it says the human body produces enough DMT to keep us in the plane of existence. That is a fact. We know that. Based on Dr. Neil Klossman, right? Strassman. And then it says, through increased levels of DMT, a person experiences higher levels of consciousness. And so we stopped on this chapter 5, the Kundalini, or the shamans and the dragons. That's the energy that rises through your spine, the base of the coccyx all the way up to the spine, and then top of your head. Boop. And this is why the reptilians say that we are not centripedos, because we don't know these things. We're not taught these things. These things are hidden from us. They're hidden in plain sight. But most of us don't even take the time to go read it, right? I like this book, Flat Atlantis. I'm going to read this little quote, and then we're going to get into this next part, where he actually puts this in this book, and it says, awakening the Kundalini. It's the serpent energy, the coiled serpent energy. One second. I like this back part where it says, no one is coming to save you. This life is 100% your responsibility. Look at this. Y'all see this? No one is coming to save you. This life is 100% your responsibility. So, yeah, everything has been inverted on this planet. I'm going to read this last part, and then we're going to get to this other book. Revelations is imploring the reader to take responsibility for your own spiritual growth. And this is why I'm reading, to share this information with you guys, to pique your curiosity, where you will go purchase the books and read them yourself, right? So it says, Revelations is imploring the reader to take responsibility for our spiritual growth, and not to simply wait for Satan, which means Satan, which is administrator. That's what that really means. To simply wait for Satan to bring hell in a handbasket. See, hell was added as a cliff note, and I'm not even going to go into who added it. We'll just leave it at that. It really wasn't in the book, and they added it for control purposes. Then it says, the great and terrible day of the Lord promised in Revelations that literalist Christians are so simultaneously dreading and welcoming, both sacred and excited for, must be the most grossly misunderstood allegory in the Bible. The 7 years of trials and tribulations are not some fatalistic prophecy of humanity's ultimate demise, but rather an epic allegory of the death throes of the ego and the lower carnal mind upon opening the 7 seals. Likewise, the great and terrible day of the Lord is nothing but the final dissolution of the ego. Shedding the ego, shedding the separate self. Oh Lord, it's a challenge to do. I ain't even gonna lie. And the death of one's lower self. According to the ancient esoteric thought, each chakra contains spiritual life lessons. And as Kundalini rises, certain trials and tribulations are inevitable. But by inviting and transcending them, we can successfully raise our consciousness to progressively more enlightened states. And that's the point. That's the point. It's a challenge, but anyone can do it. We all can do it. We have to. We cannot fail, right? We got this. We can do this. But it starts. You got to make a start. You got to make a stand somewhere, right? This is the true rapture and the second coming, the real baptism of being born again. The awakening of the Kundalini, which is the energy at the base of the coccyx nerve. It's a coiled serpent, and when it raises, it's a almost like a burning, I guess, energy, feeling a throbbing in your spine and through your body, right? And it says, by awakening of the Kundalini, by purifying your temple to house Christ consciousness within. Genesis is about the generation of the higher self, a metaphysical manual for spiritual development. And Revelations is only a death sentence for the lower self, an epic obituary for the ego. All the world's religion scriptures are pointing towards pleading with humanity to awaken their latent power within. This is what we have within each person who's born on this, in this ethos, within these avatar meat suits. We all have this power. We're just not taught how to use it. And it says, from the oldest known mythologies like Atlantis to the newest New Age philosophies like Theosophy, the repeated symbology and numerology and allegories throughout disparate cultures and times tells a meta-narrative that only the well-researched or initiated will see. For the ignorant, indoctrinated masses, a combination of pseudoscience and religion lyricism has most believing themselves to be either hairless apes spinning on a fantasy cartoon ball or helpless victims of a vengeful, deterministic God who requires a constant praise and submission. For those of us knowledgeable and acquainted with the reality of flat Atlantis, however, the very concept of belief becomes an antiquated and unnecessary, permanently replaced by common sense evidence, experience, and endless exploration. And it's not about having a belief, it's about knowing, right? I have to listen to what Chief says. Sorry, I'm picking my nose here because my ring is kind of tight. It hurts a little bit. All right, so we've read from Science and Sacred Secretion. I read the back part of Flat Atlantis because that brings us to number 6, the process, the heart, and the baptism, right? So when I was growing up, I born again and was baptized at 19 years old, Church of Christ. And I remember when I first got baptized and afterwards coming home and excited with my new Bible. And I was like, oh, wow, there's God. There's Jesus Christ, and he's going to save me, and he loves me, and he died for my sins. I was really brainwashed. I'm just saying, I was really brainwashed. And I believed the woo. I really did. My point is that I remember laying down in bed, waking up the next morning and going, hi, God. Hi, Christ. I'm so glad you're both here. I mean, it was in my mind, and I had believed wholeheartedly what they were teaching. Not understanding that, and I'm not saying this to throw shade on anyone, because everybody's on a different spiritual path. I'm simply saying, when you're in these religious cults, you're further away from God than you can ever imagine. Is that when you break free from that? Is when you start to unwind and you start to understand, you become even closer to the Creator because you realize the Creator is you. You are creation. You are a part of creation. You create the reality around you. You perceive the reality around you. But more importantly, the Creator of all walks with you. What is the energy that powers your body? Yet it is the Creator. Right? You don't need to go into a church to worship God. And I don't even like the word God. I don't even use that. It's a religious term. I just say the Creator of all. Right? You see my button? It says I want to leave. The Grays. If y'all listening, y'all watching. Y'all visited me when I was pregnant with my son, Alex. I do remember that. I remember that visit. Multiple times they were standing over my bed. So my point is that you have to get to a point where you understand. Your understanding has to broaden, right? You understand you can manifest things, right? We are so powerful. We can manifest, literally manifest shit. I want to get to the point where I'm levitating. Me and Alex had this talk conversation. I want to get to the point where when I'm meditating and I'm levitating and I can just be on a genie in a carpet. Like, I want to go to the Himalayas. Boom, I'm there. I want to go to the island in Turks and Caicos. I want to be there on the beach with my fitness in. See, I want to be able to travel and materialize at will. I know how that sounds, but that's where I want to be. And I'm not going to say I won't ever do it. I'm going to say it's coming. That's what I'm going to say. So we're reading chapter 6, the process, the heart and the baptism, right? And it says, if the procreative essences are preserved and reabsorbed as described in the previous chapter, right? Then the next section of the inner alchemy is as follows. Through what Harold Percival, author of the prolific book Thinking and Destiny, we're going to write this, I'm going to highlight that. That's another book I'm going to put on my list. Calls volunteering reclaiming the vivified seed begins its ascension to the cervical vertebra, which is the C4, where the baptism takes place. Okay, and y'all heard that. I read it. The vitrified seed begins the ascension to the cervical, which is the C4, where the baptism takes place. On its path to the C4, it travels through other vital organs, including the kidneys, the pancreas, and the heart. So let's take a look at these wonderful body parts and their role in this phenomenal process. The kidneys are esoterically represented by the biblical place Nepital. Percival surmises that it is during the third week of your personal lunar cycle that the seed rises from the procreative region and into the region of the kidneys. Okay, and then it says the kidneys are regarded as the body's most important reservoir of life force energy, which again is photon light transforming into electrons and precipitating as nitrogen, which is fire, and phosphorus, which is light. And I won't tell you the amount of dynamite we could make with all the nitrogen and phosphorus we could extract from the kidney. Look at this. The kidney connection with the adrenal glands means that fear, anger, hate, envy, insecurity, and other stressful emotions that cause increased cortisol, which I'm very well of that, and the epinephrine secretions to toxify the body can diminish the seed's vibrancy. So as long as we stay in this fight or flight state, that diminishes the seed, right? So we've got to learn how to flip the switch with our parasympathetic nervous system. So it says poor memory, mind fog, fear, paranoia, and backache are all regarded as indicators of impaired kidney function and deficient kidney energy. The kidneys also control the balance of the body's fluids and regulate the body's acid alkaline pH balance. And we already know how important pH balance is towards regeneration due to the bipolar acid, alkaline, lunar, solar nature of every cell in the body. After the kidneys, the seed reaches the pancreas, which is part of the endocrine and digestive systems. The pancreas secretes insulin, and insulin doesn't just control blood sugar. It also communicates with the DNA genes. In fact, insulin vitalizes DNA gene expression, which aids with what's called the 144,000 light body activation. Not 144,000 that are going to be saved in church. Sorry, that's not what that means, people. It's not what it means. I'm going to read that one more time for the people in the back row. It says, the pancreas secretes insulin. Insulin doesn't just control blood sugar. It also communicates with the DNA genes. In fact, insulin vitalizes the DNA genes expression, which aids with what's known as 144,000 light body activation. Eventually, the seed reaches the heart, center, and thymus gland, esoterically known as Jerusalem. The love and the hate and the mind are perpetuated, or precipitated to the organ of emotion and or crystallized there. This is really important because love, compassion, peace, and forgiveness enlarge the heart and stimulate oxytocin, which released by the pituitary. This is a chemical catalyst for the pineal gland metabolism. So love, compassion, and peace magnifies this and helps produce it. And it's a catalyst for the pineal gland metabolism. These high frequency emotions in the heart also cause CSF, which is quote unquote the Christ oil, flow to increase and pressurize further, assisting the pineal with its melatonin upgrades. Melatonin upgrades will be explained more thoroughly later. Heart, center, thalamus, and thyroid. This is the picture of it. Heart, center, thalamus, and thyroid. Can y'all see that? All right, and it says, next, the seed continues upward from the heart and the center of the thymus to the throat, center, and thyroid, the place of baptism. Some of you know that in the Bible, it is John who baptizes Jesus in the river of Jordan. And some of you will also know that this is a metaphor for the biological process that happens to the seed in the region of the body. In the Tree of Life, Dr. Carey wrote, Jesus was baptized by John to the fluids, the Christ substance of the spinal cord. And that's The Tree of Life by Dr. Carey. Another good book that we're going to have to pick up. He also says that the word John is a chemical formula. Let's unpack. Jesus is said to be 30 years old, right? When John baptizes him, Jesus' 33 years of life symbolizes the 33 vertebrae in the human spine. Therefore, we know that Jesus' 30 years must correspond with the 30 vertebrae of the spine. The vertebra of the spine is C4, the fourth cervical vertebra. C4 is also the site of the cranial pump, known in Chinese medicine as Yu Jin or the jade pillow pump. CSF flows around the brain and spinal cord by two pumping mechanisms. The occiput cranial pump, or C4, at the top of the spinal cord, and the sacral pump at the bottom. Page 48, The God Design, Secrets of the Mind, Body, and Soul by Kelly Marie. Yeah. That's what it is. All right, did y'all get that? You want me to read it again? Jesus is said to be 30 years old when John baptizes him. And then Jesus' 33 years of life symbolizes the 33 vertebrae in the human spine. All right. Therefore, we know that Jesus' 30th year must correspond to the 30 vertebrae of the spine, and the 30th vertebra of the spine is the C4, which is the fourth cervical vertebra. The C4 is also the site of the cranial pump, is known in the Chinese medicine as Yu Jin or the jade pillow pump. The top of the thyroid gland is level with the C4. The thyroid uses iodine as an electron donor to produce thioxine, a powerful hormone which disinfects all the channels of the nervous system while we sleep. Without this biological iodine, we would not be able to live. In other words, thioxine literally baptizes or purifies the body, mind, and soul, and the letters which spell John, previously IOHN, in the Greek Bible are found in the chemical formula of thioxine. And here it is right here. That's John. Y'all getting that? So, the invisible and element and astral substance. The J or the I is iodine. There is no letter J in the Hebrew language historically. The name John would have begun with an I or a Y. O, which is oxygen. Oxygen corresponds with the Hebrew letter alphabet, the catalyst of creation. H is for hydrogen. Hydrogen corresponds with the Hebrew letter mem, the water of consciousness. And N is nitrogen, which is nitrogen corresponds with the Hebrew letter shin, the fire of life. Alph, Mim, and Shin are known as the three mother letters, which is nitrogen. So let's unpack it. John, iodine. J, iodine. H, oxygen. Or excuse me, let me start over. John is J or I, which is iodine. O for oxygen. H for hydrogen. N for nitrogen. That is what the breakdown of John means. Iodine, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. Y'all got it? That's what that means. We just covered the baptism in the heart. We covered what the 33 vertebra, 33 years of Jesus' life represents the 33 vertebra, right? We broke down what the meaning is behind John. And I showed you the chemical compound of what it looks like on the periodic table, or the compound table. That's John. That's what that means. And I'll show you this in the book. So it's J or I-O-H-N. Iodine, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. That's what John stands for. So, I know. Take it all in. You just like, what the hell she just read? It's all right, y'all. It's all right. It's all right. I know it takes a little bit. You're like, what? Wait a minute, what? Because anything that challenges your paradigm and your belief, you're going to immediately push it back and go, what the hell is she talking about? She's reading this shit from a book. But if you really sit down and you study and you listen and you meditate, you understand that this comes to you, right? I mean, this is something that we weren't taught. This is something that was hidden in plain sight. And it was a reason why they didn't teach us, right? It is really a reason why they didn't continue to teach us this. Do you understand how powerful we actually are? Like Alex and I have had these conversations where he said literally that we are like children. Like we could create worlds and destroy worlds just with this. And we can. And we really can. And most people don't understand that. Most people don't get that part. So I'm just going to read a little part here. And I just want you to sit back and I want you to think about what I'm saying. Okay. A clairvoyant is one who has raised the spinal serpent into the brain and by his growth earned the right of perceiving the invisible worlds with the aid of the third eye and the pineal gland. The organ of consciousness which millions of years ago connected man with the invisible worlds closed during the Lemurian period when the objective senses began to develop. The occultists, however, by this process of development hinted at before, may reopen this eye and by means of it explore the invisible worlds. Clairvoyants are not born, they are made. Mediums are not made, they are born. The clairvoyant can become such only after years, sometimes lives of self-preparation. On the other hand, the medium, by sitting in a darkened room or other similar practices, may secure results in a few days. And I do that. I will periodically turn off the lights and go sit in the closet on my little stool and just sit there and just breathe in and breathe out. And soon, it's true, you fall away from your body. You regulate your breathing, obviously, but then you just fall away. And I will be honest, it's hard for me to stay awake. I go to sleep. I go to sleep sitting in the closet. You know, I do. It's crazy. My husband comes out, you all right? Yeah, I'm fine. You stick a towel under the door and just be in existence, be in the darkness. It's very peaceful. The medium uses the solar plexus as a mirror, and upon its sensitive nerves are reflected pictures recorded in the visible ethers. Through the spleen, which is the gateway to the etheric body, the medium permits decarnate intelligences to come into a spiritual constitution, the results being voices and other spirit manifestations. Automatic writing is gained by permitting the etheric arm of the outside intelligence to control temporarily the physical arm of the medium. This is not possible until the medium removes his own etheric double from the arm, for two things cannot occupy the same place at the same time. This is true. This is true. The result of separating the life forces from the physical arm periodically is very disastrous, often resulting in paralysis. Mediumship is unnatural to man, while clairvoyance is the natural result of growth and unfolding of the spiritual nature. There are 100 mediums to one clairvoyant, for the clairvoyant can become such only through self-mastery and exertion of the tremendous power. While the weaker the mind, the more sickly and the more nervous an individual is, the better medium he makes. The clairvoyant is unfolding his mind by filling it with useful knowledge, while the first instruction given, the word be mediums, is make your mind a blank. The reason why mediumship through the solar plexus is a retrogression may be summed up as follows. The group spirits who control the destinies of the animal kingdom govern their charges through pictures through against the solar plexus, for the animal has no self-conscious. As a result, instead of thinking with its own brain, it thinks with the brain of the group spirit, to whom it is attached by the invisible magnetic cords. These cords convey their impressions and photograph them upon the sympathetic nervous system. Having no will of its own, the animal is incapable of combating these urges and consequently obeys them implicitly. The man governs himself through the cerebral spinal nervous system. Man, however, has developed individuality, and the sympathetic system no longer rules him. Opening himself to impulses through the solar plexus area, the medium is therefore thwarting his own growth by preventing the cerebral spinal nervous system from controlling his destiny. Man has always liked to lean on external things. He hates to face each problem and solve it with the brain God gave him. He consequently leans on the invisible worlds, asking them to help him to accomplish the labors which he should do by his own efforts. Thousands of people must carry the karmic responsibilities of the medium, for many follow this calling because hundreds of people walk to talk to deceased relatives or get inside tips of the stock market. Those who, by this patronage, encourage things of which they do not themselves approve are personally responsible for the injury which their selfishness has thus permitted other persons to inflict upon themselves. The difference, therefore, between mediumship and the clairvoyance is about half the length of the spiritual column. It is difference between the negative and the positive. It is difference between the midnight of the seance room and the noonday of the temple. All of the organs within the body of man have their own religious significance. I'm going to repeat that one more time. All of the organs within the body of man, and when I say man, I'm saying woman and man, human, have their own religious significance. The heart with its chambers is itself a temple standing upon the mountain of the diaphragm. The spleen, with its little umbrella-shaped body, collects the sun's rays and has charge of the etheric body. It is this etheric body coiled within the spleen that ejects the white blood corpuscles into the circulatory system. We know that the human body has been the inspiration for nearly all mechanical conveyances. Hinges are copied from the human body, likewise the ball and the socket. We are told that the first plumbing was produced from arterial and ventricular circulatory systems. Hundreds of machines and implants which work around us have been inspired by the subtle workings of our own vehicles. The human body is the most marvelous constructed machine which the human mind can study. The close relationship between the generative systems below and the brain above, for it is the brain is a positive generating system, is of the course due to the spine connecting them. At a certain time, a number of little doors, which now separate the brain from the generative system, are open, and the sushumna becomes an open tunnel so that every impulse is carried immediately to the body at both ends. It's a sword. It's like a burning bush, a sword. It is for this reason that the candidate assumes that the vows of celibacy for the close connection of existing in the advanced disciple between the brain and the reproductive system necessitates an absolute conservation of all life energies. That means don't be going out there jizzing all over the place. Sorry, language. But I'm just saying. This is why you have to conserve your sacred secretion. The orgasm, the chrism, the cum. I'm just being honest. Absolute conservation of all life energies. The tonsils are directly connected with the generative system. In fact, are part of its positive pole in the brain. The present deplorable custom of vaccinating children and cutting out their tonsils the moment they appear in the world will sometime result in distinct degeneration of the race. And look what's happened to us. We got these Kanye Wests. Sorry, Kanye. Kanye, P. Diddy. What's that other boy name? Will Smith. Sexy Red. Beyonce and Jay. Lil Wayne. Drake. You got all these people out there as a distraction put in front of us to keep us at this degenerative level. For real. Through either ignorance or indulgence, they allow the infantile consciousness. Most tonsils are infected as a result of the child eating too many sweets during the first few years of life. The moral is, don't cut out the tonsils, cut out the sweets. Most parents are responsible for the sickness of their own children. And I dare say that I didn't know any better because I gave my kids the jab, even though I died from the jab. Where's the lunacy in that one? See, I'm not perfect. I'm not above reproach. I'm not. Most parents are responsible for the sickness of their children. Through either ignorance or indulgence, they allow the infantile consciousness, as yet uncontrolled by its higher vehicles, to destroy itself before the life begins. When children are sick during the early years of life, the physician will usually find the cause of the ailment in the parent and the father or the mother, and not the child. Should be dosed with pills. If the stomach is kept in proper condition, the tonsils will give very little trouble. The absolute economy exhibited by nature in the building of all of its structures should be sufficient proof that the Lord was not wasting his time when he made tonsils and appendices. He apparently had a reason for making them, but these poor, unoffending organs have become a gold mine to medical scientists who remove them at the slightest provocation. We are told that the vertical position assumed by the human body, which therefore forces the contents of the intestinal tract to travel part of the time uphill, is a contributing cause of the appendix, which is missing in creatures of horizontal carriage. Every organ not only has its visible purpose, but it also has an invisible spiritual purpose, and the individual is to be envied who manages to go through life preserving intact as many as possible of his original anatomical parts and members. And I'm missing certain things in my body. I am. So, let me read this last part. While all the subject of the debt of science to the human body, we might add that the decimal system is a result of the primitive man counting on his fingers, whereby 10 became the unit of enumeration. The ancient cubit also was the distance between the elbow and the end of the second finger, or approximately 18 inches. So, it goes back through the study of things until we find that nearly everything with which man has surrounded himself and an adaptation from the body with which God surrounded his spirit. Man is gradually gaining control not only over the organs of his body, but also over their functions. Science states that the certain organs function automatically and mechanically, but occultism realizes that there is nothing mechanical about the functions of the human body. Let us take an example of a workman throwing a piece of iron among the wheels and levers of a smoothly working machine. There is a grinding crash and the machine stops. If, on the other hand, you throw a monkey wrench figuratively into a human body, it would immediately begin the process of throwing it back to you. It would surround the foreign element with a coating and would try to absorb it. If this were impossible, it would try to eject it through some channel appointed for that purpose. Sorry, you guys. Had to keep it light, right? If this means failed, it would, in many cases, accustom itself to the presence of the obstacle and keep right on working away. Again, if this means failed, it would in many cases accustom itself to the presence of the obstacle and keep right on working anyway. This shows unmistakably that the organic parts of man possess some inherent form of intelligence. Therefore, they are not machines, for no mechanical device is capable of intelligence. I'm going to stop it right there. So, I know I've read a lot, and I wanted to cover a couple of different chapters. So we've covered 4 books, you guys, and it's right at 55 minutes. I don't really want to go over an hour. I wanted to get to, I want to read this one little part, and then I'm gonna jump off of here. I'm gonna read this part that says, it's the God-man made flesh, and it's part, page 21, man, and this is closing it out. God hath made man upright, but they have sought out many inventions. There is an automatic procedure within the human body, which, if not interfered with, will do away with sickness, trouble, sorrow, death, as stated in the Bible. Now, you heard me when I read about what the body does when a foreign invader comes in. It tries to throw it out. It gets rid of it. It tries to get rid of it. And then it coats it and tries to absorb it, right? Truly, mankind, or the natural man, seeks many ways and means to prevent the upright, perfect, automatic way from accomplishing that whereunto it was sent. The natural man forever seeks pleasurable sensation, which is an enmity with God. Physical sensation, the pleasures of sin for a season or limited duration, referred to by Paul, are under the law or below the solar plexus. Hence, he that is led by the Spirit is not of the law. The 21st letter of the Hebrew alphabet, Shin, S-H-I-N, or Shin, lacks one of the complete alphabet, Tav, T-A-V, the 22nd letter, meaning the cross. Herewith are given a few of the Greek and Hebrew characters that have been translated. Sin, or a falling short, Hebrew, or Hashem, Het, Chet, Havat, Havan, translated iniquity more than 200 times, means conceived in sin, brought forth in iniquity or sin. In Greek, we find this word written as hermatav, or proanantaro, or animatros, anamoia, anamias, peranaboia. Any act coming under the meaning of sin retards or prevents the automatic action of the seed, which, if not interfered with, lifts up a portion, 1/10, of the life essence, oil, or secretion, that constantly flows down the spinal cord, a straight and narrow way, and transmutes it, thus increasing its power many-fold and perpetuating the body indefinitely or until the ego desires to dissolve it by rates of motion set in action by its inherent will. The allegories of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, as well as Paul, epistles, and Acts of the Apostles, teach anything. They teach the mastery of transmutation of the human body by anyone who obeys the physiological guidebook, the whole book, the Holy Bible, which is basic instructions before leaving earth. That's what the Bible stands for. But let the reader observe that each of the 66 books, as well as almost countless number of ancient books of all races, languages, teach the same mathematical and physiological facts. Man is turned the mighty power he possesses to every object and principle of force in the universe except himself. The greatest miracle of all, When man focuses his divine thinking lens upon himself, he will realize that he is the epitome of unlimited cosmic energy. Then the heavens will roll together as a scroll and reveal the real man as the Lamb of God that taketh away the sins of the world. And I'm going to leave it right there. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for listening to me for this last hour. I hope you've learned something. I hope I've shed some light on reading a couple of things. We've covered 5 books. We've covered 5 books in me reading. I did not get a chance to go through the Hearth book with you guys. I just wanted to make sure that I did come back on and we read part of the process and deep dive into some other things. And I know it seems like it's a lot of information that I'm reading, but I wanted to make sure that I covered a few things today. And, you know, I wanted to get to the cycles of consciousness, but I will bookmark that for the next video. Okay. So I thank you guys for joining me. And as I always say, be the change that you want to see all around this planet, because it's up to you and I to make a positive change. When I come back, we're going to be reading from this book, and we're going to talk about the stages of consciousness. And then we're going to tie that into chapter 7 of the Sacred Secretion. And we're going to be talking about the process, which is the vagus crossing and the cerebellum. Okay. So we're going to be reading from the Sacred Secretion and the Hearth book. And we're going to maybe at some point, I may pull some passages from Flat Atlantis and throw that in there. But the most important thing is that we spent time today reading and just thinking about some of the things that I've said. And you guys know what John now means, right? So it's been a pleasure, and I hope that you guys join me for another video. Anyway, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.